The movie begins with Warren sitting in his office, his eyes fixed on the clock. When the clock strikes 5, he gets up and leaves. We learn that this was his last day at work, he has officially retired. That same evening, Warren and his wife attend a farewell party held by the insurance company he worked for. Among the guests is his lifelong friend Larry, who gives a heartfelt speech, clearly showing how much he cares for Warren. When Warren and his wife Helen return home, their daughter Jeannie calls to check on her father. He tells her he's fine and ends the call. Later, as he goes up to the bedroom, Helen asks if he talked to Jeannie about her fiancé Randall. Warren replies, "No, you know I don't like Randall, and I don't approve of our only daughter marrying someone like him." Helen responds that their daughter loves him, and that they've already set the wedding date for 2 weeks from now. The next morning, Warren wakes up at his usual work hour, goes downstairs, and starts flipping through TV channels. He comes across a charity advertisement about sponsoring poor orphan children in Tanzania. Moved by it, he decides to sponsor a young boy and sends a monthly donation of $25. The following day, Warren visits his old company and meets Gary, the man who replaced him. He offers to help Gary with the work, but Gary politely declines, saying he has an important meeting. When Warren returns home, Helen asks how Gary received him, and Warren lies, saying Gary was very welcoming and asked him for advice about many things he didn't know how to solve. Later, Warren receives a letter from the charity thanking him for sponsoring an orphan named Ndugu, a 6-year-old boy. They ask him to include a letter introducing himself along with his monthly check. So Warren begins writing. In the letter, he introduces himself as Warren, a 66-year-old man from Nebraska, with an older brother named Harry who lives in Virginia with his wife. He writes about the man who took over his job, describing him as an ignorant and arrogant young man. He then mentions that he has one daughter, Jeannie, whom he loves very much. She works at a computer company in Denver, which is why he rarely sees her. He writes that he could have become a successful businessman if he had taken risks when he was younger, but he chose a stable job with a secure income so he could support his wife and daughter. He also tells Ndugu that he's been married to Helen for 42 years, but there has never been much understanding between them. She always interrupts him when he speaks, and he dislikes her way of talking, her appearance, her smell, and the way she controls him. Yet, despite all that, he has stayed married to her all these years. As for his daughter's fiancé, Randall, Warren writes that he's an unambitious man who works as a salesman, and that Jeannie deserves someone much better. Later, Warren tells Helen he's going out for a short errand and will be back soon. He goes out to mail the letter, and when he returns home, he finds Helen collapsed on the floor, dead. He immediately calls an ambulance and his daughter. Jeannie arrives with her fiancé, deeply saddened by her mother's death, and together they attend the funeral. On the night of the funeral, Randall suggests that Warren invest part of his money with him, but Warren refuses. The next morning, Jeannie prepares breakfast and tells her father she's returning to work. Warren pleads with her to stay a little longer, saying, "After your mother's death, I don't know who will take care of me." She replies, "You're not a child, you can take care of yourself. And if you can't, hire a maid." Warren says he can't afford it, and she responds, "Then you'll have to learn." When he asks if she'll postpone her wedding because of her mother's death, she firmly says no, everything is already prepared, and invitations have been sent. Warren tells her, "Randall doesn't deserve you. Don't marry him." Jeannie gets angry, leaves the table, and walks away. The next day, Warren drives Jeannie and Randall to the airport. After that, he lives alone in the house, struggling with loneliness. He doesn't know how to cook or take care of himself, and the house quickly falls into disarray. He starts to miss Helen deeply. 2 weeks later, he writes another letter to Ndugu, saying that he never truly appreciated Helen while she was alive, but after her death, he realized how much she meant to him. While going through her clothes and belongings, he discovers romantic letters between Helen and his friend Larry. Shocked and devastated, he gathers her things and throws them away. Then he confronts Larry and punches him. Larry explains that it happened 20 years ago, that it was a mistake, and that they both moved on. He apologizes, but Warren refuses to forgive him and leaves, driving away in the travel trailer he had bought for Helen 2 years before her death. A few days later, Warren decides to take the trailer and drive to visit his daughter. On the way, he calls her at work and tells her he's planning to surprise her and help with the wedding preparations. Jeannie coldly responds, "No, don't come yet. Let's stick to the plan, come 2 days before the wedding, and don't forget to send the check you promised," then hangs up on him. Feeling unwanted, Warren decides instead to travel to the state where he was born to visit his childhood home. When he arrives in his old neighborhood, he finds that his house has been turned into a tire shop. He walks in, filled with nostalgia, and when the worker asks if he wants to buy tires, Warren tells him that his childhood home once stood there, and that he just came to remember the past. After that, he goes to the university where he once studied and begins reminiscing about his old days there. He talks with a group of students studying the same major he once did. Later, he visits the university's honor board and finds his own name and picture displayed on it, which makes him very happy. He continues his journey until he reaches a rest stop where several travel trailers are parked. Suddenly, someone knocks on his door. A man introduces himself as Mike, the owner of the trailer parked next to his. Mike asks if he can take a look inside Warren's vehicle, and Warren agrees. Mike is amazed by how large and beautiful the trailer is, and when he learns that Warren's wife recently passed away, he invites him to dinner with him and his wife Vicky, saying that she's an excellent cook. Warren accepts the invitation. That same night, Warren brings a bottle of juice and joins them for dinner. They warmly welcome him. After eating, Vicky shows him photos of their daughters and grandchildren. Warren admires the photos, and when they ask if he has a picture of his daughter, he says no and quickly changes the subject. Then Mike says they've run out of juice and steps out to buy more. During his absence, Vicky tells Warren, "Despite your tidy appearance and polite smile, I can tell that deep down you're a very lonely and sad man." Warren replies, "You're right. I lived with my wife for 42 years, and yet she never understood me the way you just did." He moves closer to her, but Vicky gets angry and kicks him out. He apologizes for what he did, but she refuses to forgive him and tells him to leave again. Warren leaves, gets into his trailer, and drives away into the night without looking back, continuing to drive until morning. The next morning, he stops the trailer, gets out, and calls Larry, telling him he forgives him for what happened, but then realizes he's talking to Larry's voicemail. He deletes the message and hangs up. He drives on until he reaches a lake, where he sits quietly for a while. That night, he climbs onto the roof of his trailer and places a few porcelain figurines, the same ones his wife used to love collecting, before lighting a candle and gazing up at the starry sky. At that moment, he speaks to Helen, saying that he knows he wasn't the best husband in the world, and that their marriage was a conventional one, but he always felt a sense of companionship with her that he deeply misses now. He says, "Were you happy with me? Or were you disappointed that I wasn't the man who truly loved and understood you? In any case, I've forgiven you for what you did. And if you've also forgiven me for neglecting you, please send me a sign." Just then, he sees a shooting star crossing the sky, which he takes as her way of telling him that she has forgiven him. The next morning, Warren wakes up on top of the trailer, climbs down, and continues his journey. He writes another letter to Ndugu, telling him about the night he spent by the lake. He says he feels a deep inner peace he hasn't felt in a long time and that he now knows what he wants to do. Nothing and no one can stop him. He also tells the boy that he has sent him a little extra money this month so he can buy himself something nice. Meanwhile, Warren finally arrives in Denver, at the home of Roberta, Randall's mother. She greets him warmly and invites him in, talking to him about the wedding arrangements. She reminds him that he still needs to send the last payment to the church. Roberta tells him she raised her son to value love and understanding, which is why he grew up to be a man who appreciates both. She insists that Jeannie and Randall are a perfect match, adding that although she's been divorced twice, she can always tell when a couple is meant to be, and she's certain their relationship will succeed. A little later, Jeannie and Randall arrive. Jeannie greets her father coldly, and when Warren says he needs to talk to her about something important, she replies that she's tired and they can talk after dinner. That evening, the entire Randall family gathers for dinner: Roberta, her ex-husband, his new wife, Randall's brother, Jeannie, and Randall himself. It's obvious Warren feels uncomfortable with their loud behavior and the way they eat and talk. After dinner, Jeannie and Randall prepare to leave for their home. Warren asks to speak to his daughter privately. She sighs, "Is it really necessary?" He says yes. Randall tells her he'll wait in the car. Outside, Warren pleads with her, saying, "Think about what you're doing. This isn't the man you deserve, nor the kind of family you belong to. You deserve a better life than this." Jeannie gets angry and replies, "You have no right to interfere in my life. I'm marrying Randall the day after tomorrow. If you want to come to the wedding, fine. If not, go back home." She storms off and leaves with Randall. That night, Warren sleeps in Randall's old room at Roberta's house. When he gets into bed, he realizes the mattress is water-filled, and he struggles to sleep on it. In the morning, Roberta walks in to wake him and finds him lying on the floor. It turns out that sleeping on the waterbed strained his neck badly, and he can barely move it. When Jeannie finds out, she's furious, saying, "Really, Dad? You choose now to get sick?" Randall tries to calm her down, but she snaps at him too and storms out. The next day, the family decides to have dinner out. Warren, still in pain, struggles to get dressed. Roberta gives him some painkillers, assuring him he'll feel better after taking one. An hour later, the whole family, Randall, Jeannie, Roberta, and friends, gather for dinner, but Warren acts strangely because of the medication. Later, they all go to the church for wedding rehearsal, and Warren is barely conscious. That night, he takes a warm bath, then goes to sleep in his trailer parked outside Roberta's house. The next day, we see him walking his daughter down the aisle, giving her away to Randall. The priest completes the ceremony, and everyone celebrates. During the reception, after Randall's friend gives a toast, Warren is unexpectedly invited to speak. To everyone's surprise, he thanks Randall and his family and wishes the couple a happy life together. The following day, Warren drives away and begins narrating another letter to Ndugu. He says, "I tried to stop my daughter from marrying Randall, but I couldn't. Now they're on their honeymoon, paid for with my money." When he returns home, he reflects aloud, "I know I'll die soon. And when I look back at my life, I ask myself, what difference have I made in this world? Who will remember me after I'm gone? I've wasted my life without leaving a single mark." At that moment, he notices a letter from the orphanage. When he opens it, he finds it's from the nun in charge of Ndugu. She writes that Ndugu is only 6 years old and still can't read or write, but he talks about Warren all the time with simple but loving words. To express his affection, he drew a picture for him, which she has enclosed with the letter. When Warren opens the drawing, he sees that Ndugu has drawn himself holding hands with Warren, as if Warren were guiding him to safety. Deeply moved, Warren begins to cry, realizing that he truly has made a difference in someone's life, and that the boy will surely remember him forever. And here, the film ends.